Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie Joy at the Miss Joy. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications. I've got a lot of fun things to share with you about music, especially music here in Savannah, Georgia. And I'm really excited about this episode because this episode we get to talk about my musical influences. I have been playing music since I was 9 years old. I started with flute and then I moved on quickly to guitars and they became my favorite instruments. And even before I started playing flute, I started singing at a very young age. So I have a long music history to talk to you about today. Let's get started. It would be impossible to talk about my musical influences if I didn't mention my parents. My mother was a flautist who started playing flute about the same time I did and played most of her life. And we played in the church worship band together. My dad was the worship leader for our worship band in the local church that I went to in Ohio. So from the time I was young, I started singing with my dad. I was about 4 or 5 years old and we sang this really cute tune by Sandy Patty called That's the Love of God. My dad and I ended up traveling around to sing for many different churches from the time I was young until the time I was grown. It was the best experience for a father and daughter. Both of my parents really encouraged me to keep pursuing music no matter what else I did in life, and I'm so grateful for that. At the end of 1992, the Bodyguard soundtrack was released, featuring the greatest Whitney Houston. And all of 1993, that album was everything to me. It actually inspired some pretty embarrassing homemade concerts that I made my family sit through in the basement of our farmhouse. In 1996, I learned the guitar chords for Sade's Sweetest Taboo. And I played it a lot, alone, in my room, where nobody else could hear. Be on the lookout, because I have a cover of this song coming on the new EP. You give me the sweetest taboo. I also learned that this guitar riff is only a few notes. Also in 1996, I loved MXPX. They were one of my favorite bands. And when I was that age, I put together my own little zine. I printed it out on my family's printer and I circulated it myself. So I published it and circulated it at 13 years old. It had a few scriptures in it and devotionals. It was called Supplication. It was supposed to be for Christian youth, but I reviewed a lot of bands at the very end of my little zine and it took off. A lot of my friends in all of the schools around the area loved to read my music reviews. And one time I did a little music review about MXPX and, I sent it to them. I never expected to hear back from any of the bands that I sent my little zine to, but when I sent my review to MXPX, this guy wrote me back. His name is Mike Herrera, and he was the lead singer of MXPX. He still is. He wrote me back, and in his letter, he had Xeroxed a few pages from a book called Addicted to Mediocrity. And let me tell you, that little section of the book blew my mind. It changed the way that I see music. It really encouraged me to not dull the rough edges, so to speak, and not be afraid to be raw and not to be afraid to be real and authentic. And I'm so grateful for that little bit of inspiration that I got from someone really big. He does have a podcast now. I called into it and he actually did feature my phone call. He answered some really great questions for me about being a new recording artist. He was so gracious and kind yet again. In 1998, I started playing the bass guitar, and that's when life really began. I fell in love with Red Hot Chili Peppers, specifically Flea. He taught me how to slap and pop the bass. It was the best thing ever. I was obsessed with him. In 1999, I discovered the sweet, sweet sounds of Bad Brains. I was reading actually an article in a Christian music publication where one of my favorite bands talked about how Bad Brains was one of their biggest inspirations, so I had to check them out. And when I found them, holy crap, whew, I fell in love. I was addicted to the rage and the rebellion. This made me look into other deeply spiritual and thoughtful bands like Bob Marley and the Wailers, and I found a love for reggae. And that's what inspired my new single, Dynasty. So you might have Bad Brains to thank for my single, Dynasty. Bad Brains changed the way I listened to and wrote music. So that's it. Those are my musical influences. It is a diverse range and I could give you so many more, but we only have so much time. Let me know in the comments what your favorite musical influences are. Thanks for joining me. Oh yeah, and don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys.